we're no longer the party of Joe Biden. We don't agree with a lot of stuff that he did. He paved the way for Donald Trump to come back in. He shouldn't have run again. Although that's a tricky line for them to run because everybody and their dog said that Joe Biden should run again.
I'm Tiana Lowe Doescher, and this is The Debrief. I'm here with managing news editor Chris Irvine.
Hey.
Chris, one of the biggest stories of the week, Joe Biden, after months of promising not to pardon his son Hunter, who was convicted on multiple criminal charges of tax evasion and gun crimes, has reversed course, issuing him not just a general pardon for those crimes, but a sweeping 11-year pardon for any and all crimes knowingly and unknowingly committed from the beginning of 2014 through the 1st of this December. What do we make of this?
I mean, it feels like an old chickens coming home to roost moment for everything that Republicans have been saying about this particular administration for the last 4 years, and the Democrats wanting to kind of project themselves as the party of morality, and we're the party that you guys can trust, and you can't trust those other guys because they're going to screw you. Well, it all kind of seems to fall on deaf ears now. There's been a few instances in the last month alone where I think you really have to take stock and think about what Democrats have been telling you for the whole election campaign period, where they said Donald Trump is Hitler, and we can't possibly allow Hitler to get back into the White House, and then he wins, and they're like, oh, it's okay, it's fine. Then we have the moment that democracy is at stake, and you can't possibly let democracy fall. What happens? They have a nice fireside chat in the Oval Office when Trump wins, and Biden seems all right with things. And then this one is obviously the cherry on top for, forever how long they've said that Hunter Biden is not going to be pardoned. His sentence isn't even going to be commuted. And then for him to just come out and have this incredibly wide-sweeping and very specific time period for a pardon that goes until the end of this year, so I guess he can do what he likes for the next month. It leaves a horrible taste in the mouth, and it buys into that kind of stench of corruption that has always lingered around the administration.
Yeah, and there have been some half-hearted defenses of Joe Biden, right? Jim Clyburn, who's his key House ally, who helped him win the Democratic primary in 2020. Bill Clinton saying, maybe he shouldn't have said he wasn't going to do it, but
right.
Whatever, it's fine. You still have Gavin Newsom, the California governor, who's widely seen as angling for the 2028 primary, condemning it, Colorado Congressman Michael Bennet, and then even the ones who don't criticize him. This line from Axios to me was incredibly damning, that Joe Biden is widely disliked by the public and now widely loathed by many Democrats who blame him for twin sins of selfishness, running again, then pardoning Hunter after repeatedly saying he wouldn't.
Yeah.
How does this play into 2028? Is this a dividing line that will be brought up in those primaries?
I guess it could hypothetically give some of these Democrats with ambitions for 2028 a clean slate. You can say, hey, look, we're no longer the party of Joe Biden. We don't agree with a lot of stuff that he did. He paved the way for Donald Trump to come back in. He shouldn't have run again. Although that's a tricky line for them to run because everybody and their dog said that Joe Biden should run again at the time, except for Dean Phillips, who is basically kind of ostracized for doing such a thing. But it may give them that chance to say, like, oh, I would have done things differently. But the point is, he's poisoned the well for the Democratic Party now, where they say one thing and then they do something completely different. And that's, that's where the outrage comes from, I think. It's less so that Hunter Biden committed these crimes, and you can have these comparisons of people who are of way less influence and stature as he that are in jail for similar crimes, but it's the hypocrisy of him saying he wasn't going to do it, and then he's not only did he go ahead and do it, but then he threw his own Department of Justice under the bus, and I'm sure Merrick Garland is sitting there going like, what the hell did I do? So
to say the entire process was corrupted by politics, it's a vote of no confidence, and it will give Trump the mandate not only to do the same thing in these sweeping pardons if he so chooses, but also to say, let's ram through Kash Patel. And just across the aisle and talk about, Trump's cabinet drama.
Yeah.
We've in some ways, this Trump second term is shaping up to be really different. Trump himself has been largely quiet during this whole cabinet discussion. The nominees have come out way earlier because obviously he knows what he's doing this time. He's much more familiar with the swamp, whereas he was a total outsider in 2016. But unlike the campaign, which was very watertight with leaks, we've been hearing from everyone's camps. We've known various contenders for these nominations have been leaking, and now we're seeing some of the drama come to the forefront. We know in the future there probably will be more, public knife fighting about RFK Jr. for HHS, Tulsi Gabbard for DNI, but a big one is Pete Hegseth to run the Pentagon. How do you think that drama plays out? Does he make it into next year?
Well, look, Hegseth is obviously the one that the sharks are circling. Who knows? By the time this video goes live, maybe he's already fallen on his sword. I don't really know. I think what it says to me is you can make the argument for Pete Hegseth with his credentials as a veteran.
Double Bronze Star.
Yeah, he knows what it's like to serve in the front line, and I think that is very admirable. He has a lot of good traits. I think he's obviously a good communicator. He has a lot of good ideas about ways to reform the military, and a lot of that stems with getting the woke out of the military. But I can't help but think that there would be much more qualified people that could have taken the role that wouldn't have come with all the baggage. There's plenty of people out there who are decorated veterans, who have executive experience, have political experience, that probably know how to navigate the swampier matters of Washington, D.C. And, any way you slice it, you're still going to have to kind of deal with that stuff. You're going to have to deal with the deep state and the bureaucracy that comes with it. And rather than just being a Pete Hegseth-style bull in a china shop, did it maybe need somebody with a little bit more finesse and a little bit more savvy and far less baggage and skeletons in their closet? It remains to be seen what happens, and perhaps Hegseth does kind of get through, but it feels like even if he does get in, the clock's going to be running on him.
And I want to ask a question that might be more about the Republican psyche more than the real politique of it all. We saw with Matt Gaetz, the former Attorney General nominee, he withdrew when it became evident that a lot of these senators have great personal reason to dislike Gaetz. There was the whole the Justice Department investigation into whether or not he had consumed illegal drugs, allegations of statutory rape. No charges were ever filed. But it was widely seen as Trump did not want to expend political capital on that. And also Gaetz himself only had 2 years of experience in the private law sector. Whereas with Hegseth, he has specifically invoked Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court justice, who was railroaded by what I consider and what I think many other consider to be completely discredited allegations of sexual misconduct. With Hegseth, we have sort of seen the goalposts shift to there was one rape allegation where the police report didn't seem incredibly favorable to the woman making the allegation, who has never come out and named him and named herself. Then to vague allegations of misconduct that all of his Fox colleagues have defended him from, and now discussion about his alcohol consumption that he vehemently refutes. Do Republicans double down out of fear that they think Democrats smell blood in the water, or do they make a tactical retreat back? What should we expect from the Senate? How will they respond to Trump? And do you think Trump stands by his man?
It's a terrific question, but I think you have to factor in some of the individuals in the Senate and whether they're the hard-nosed. We think that Murkowski and Collins are hard-nosed. I think we think McConnell's probably a hard-no. And are there people that feel that somebody in the position at such a prestigious position as the Pentagon, do they need somebody that they see as a kind of safer pair of hands? I'm curious about the stuff that's been leaked about his drinking and the stuff that the pushback that has had by a famously teetotal person is Donald Trump. And I wonder if that was maybe kind of dropped into the well just to see how Trump would react to it. I think Trump has so far shown a willingness to back him, but Trump also knows that sometimes you have to cut bait and you have to just move on. He did it with Gaetz. I think there will be the difference with Kavanaugh was it did feel like it was very much a kind of single operation against them. Hegseth, it seems like there's a lot of fire. A lot of fire coming at him, and there is also reports that the Trump transition team was upset that he didn't disclose certain stuff that had happened in his past. So maybe there will be that moment when they say, look, it's not worth it. Let's just go find somebody else who is a more palatable choice. But eventually that's going to start adding up as well, and Trump will have that in the back of his mind. He's already lost Gates. He might end up losing other people as well, because if they lose Hegseth, then they'll just move on to the next person as well. And who might that be?
Yeah, and I mean, one of the wildest things about all of this cabinet drama is we are not 1 month in, and we still have more than a month to go before even inauguration itself.
Yeah.
In the meantime, if you want to read more from Chris Irvine, the news team, and the rest of us here at the Washington Examiner, tune in to washingtonexaminer.com.